Hey, thanks for subscribing. In this video, we're going to walk through how to create one of these drop-downs. There's a lot going on, so you can read the article and step through it if that works for you, but hopefully this video is a little bonus that helps you understand what's going on a little bit better, maybe understand some of the steps that I couldn't type out fully in that blog post. So let's get going. What do we have here? We have a drop down, or what looks like a drop down, but it is actually a text box. If we look here, click on this, date buttons, horizontal, you can't see it because it's hidden, but there we go. So we have a vertical container that is hidden or shown when we click this button right here. I edit the button. You see that it's got two different images depending on whether the container is shown or hidden. And then when it's shown, we have a vertical container that's got a sheet that I've called date buttons in it, and it also has a horizontal container with the start and end dates. And that's about it. We also have a text box that just reads out the parameters here. So there's a lot involved with this little control, but the end effect is really nice. I should also say that there's a dashboard action thanks to some folks that I will link to that allows the selection to not persist. When in Tableau, if you select a mark, usually it stays selected like that. It looks gross. If we did that on the sheet, it wouldn't look nearly as nice. So we've got an article that's mentioned in the post that shows you how to sort of select this without doing that persistent highlighting thing that Tableau does. All right, so let's start. First off, what I like to do is we need a series of buttons here, and these buttons are going to come from a separate data source. So your data source is just going to have a column header and a series of options, right? For our custom date, we want to select 1 month, quarter, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, 1 year, and custom. All right, and with this data source, we can do some fun stuff. But first and foremost, it gives us a label or a list that we can use in our dropdown. All right, so when I drag label out onto the row shelf, we get our labels here. Bullet needs to go to the right of the label when you drag it out. If my bullet was here, then it wouldn't work because bullet is a calculation, so it's going to basically tell us, let's look at it. It's going to tell us like true or false. Either we get this Unicode character or this other Unicode character. And let me show you the site where I like to get those Unicode characters. All right, so these HTML UTF-8 characters. Thanks, Lindsay Poulter, for mentioning this. But they've got nice Unicode characters that we can copy and paste and put in Tableau. And when the bullet is on the left side of the label, that causes problems because it's just going to order by these, right? And we actually want it to order by the label because there's some implicit order here. And we need custom at the bottom so that we can do this effect where it makes custom look like it's associated with start and end date because the color, the similarity of the shading. All right, so we've got our labels, we've got our edit. Now we have our bullets. These are the Unicode characters that we pulled. Now if you say, if my label coming from the data source equals my date parameter. All right, what's the date parameter? Well, the date parameter is just going to be an empty date parameter. It's a string, and right now it's set to Q2 because of an parameter control or a parameter action that's happened. But by default, what you want to create is you want to create a date parameter that's just an empty string. Okay. When we do that, of course, nothing is selected, right? We get no trues for our bullet, which means we don't get that Unicode character, and that's okay. It's okay for now. All right. Now, what we want to do after we get our little bullet calculation, the Unicodes, is we need to set up that coloring. So this is simple in our scenario where custom is what we want to associate with some input parameters, the start and end date in our case. And the way we do this is we just say, give me where the label equals custom, then min 1. You might be wondering why we do it this way, and the answer is so that we can get this mark type to span the entire width of our list. If we don't do this, say label equals custom, then custom, right? This will work. And let me just drag the color out. But the problem, and it's not the color here. The size is as large as it can be. The problem is that we are no longer able to color the entire width of each row. We only get a block for this area, and when that's the case, we then have this gap that kind of cuts off our bullet, and it's not able to seamlessly align with the start and end dates like it was previously. Let's just go ahead and color this the same. So I'm gonna go here, make it white. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And custom, I believe it's F5, F5, F5. Okay. All right. Now, what does this look like? See, we've got our white area, and we've got a gray area, and then we're actually shading this container. So when I select none here, we see that. When I select F5, we see that. I select the container, we can see that what we're able to, the square mark type that we're able to color isn't as wide as we need it to be. So let's go back to the sheet and let's change it to the way it was. I believe we need our label color. Edit. No, label color, edit. Okay, cool. So, TTR. And 0. Okay, cool. Put that there. Size. Good. 0. Should span. And let me make sure. Make this continuous. Okay, good. Now it works. And we don't even need mid-0 up there. That was unnecessary. All right. So we've got our list. We've got our labels. Those come from the data source. We've got our bullets. You see that's being colored now because of the dashboard actions in effect. And we are coloring the custom block. Great. Now, if you put these two things up there, they're not going to look just like this. So you need to go into the label. I've added some space, like 3 spaces before the bullet, and 3 spaces in between the bullet and the label. Just a preference. You can have these closer to one another if you'd like, but I've got it like this. All right, so now we have our list, okay? And our list exists there. I'm just going to pull this over here for now. All right, start and end date. These are mentioned in the blog post. You're just going to create a couple parameters. So we've got our start and end date. If we edit these, we can see that the data type is date. Current value is whatever you want to put in there, and then you can just duplicate this, call it end date, and be done. Once you're done with that, you'll have your start and end date. I'm going to pull these out. All right, and now our container disappears because it doesn't have any content. And what else do we have? We have a button. I'm going to kill this for now. And we have a text box. And this text box is just our date parameter. If you remember the date parameter that was created, it was an empty string. And it's going to be driven by your click or parameter action based on what is selected here. All right. And that's kind of it. We also have an image here. Now, I use Figma to create my images. I like to use this 12-column layout, and then I will make a space for the header. I will put a little title in the header, and then I'll make my text box. There we go. Is that 180? Yep. I'll make my text box area, a little area for the button, and then this is the container for the drop down when it's shown, and then I've got an area for the chart. Okay, now this tells me the coordinates that I'm going to use in Tableau, which is really handy. And then once I've got everything situated, I'll come over here and I'll just make it look like what I want it to look like when I bring it into Tableau. So this is all I want after I remove the boxes is the title text and a little box here, right? And if we go to Tableau, we can see that this is actually an image, right? Without it, we don't have anything. Okay, and here's this text. I can actually remove this. And we can remove that as well, delete the container. Okay, so we've got our list, we've got our start date, and we've got our end date. Now let's go to the chart. The chart's pretty straightforward, thankfully. The date filter, let's check that out. The date filter is just like this. Okay, so our date parameter, remember it's an empty string when we start, but it's going to have the input from whatever's selected. So if it's 1 month, we want the calculation of 1 month. If it's Q1, we want the Q1 calc. Q2, Q3, Q4, 1 year, and then a custom selection if none of these are present. So by default, we are just going to have the custom date. So let's imagine nothing's selected. If we show our date parameter and simulate nothing being selected, custom will be selected. If we show the start date and go to maybe March, great. We see that this date filter is working. When we do 1 month here, it's also working. Back to blank, or in our case, custom, when none of these are selected, then we get this. All right, now let's look at one of these calculations. The calcs for all of these, and they're not the best calculations in the world, but they're all in the blog post, and you can of course, modify them to your heart's content. But they will take in your, it wants to make sure your date from the sample superstore, this will be whatever date part you're using, is greater than equal to 1 month prior to today. Fine. That's how the 1 month works. Is it the best way to calculate 1 month? Probably not. But it is just an example to show you how you can, create little calculations that get put in based on some parameter being set. All right, so now we have, I want my year to be equal to today's year. Now, this shouldn't work now that we're in 2020 and there's no date for 2020 in this data set, but let's try it. Yeah, doesn't work. Good. I don't often say that. Does it work? No, it doesn't work. Perfect. I'm glad it doesn't work. But it should give you a feel for how this date parameter being updated will fall through. See, what's selected will land on whatever calculation or date filter range you have. And then once you have this, just go ahead and put it on the filter shelf of your chart. And once you have that, you're able to put your chart on your dashboard. Okay. So now back to this little image concept. So when I have an image from Figma, let me just show you. I'll go to Figma, I'll click on this, I'll export, right? And then this is not where I want to put it. Out of my drive, national logging, custom date image, and then I've got a background image. There, background image, replace. Okay, and now go here. All right, now in Figma, my background image is it is 1000 by 800. Great. So I need to bring this image in. I'll go to the same location that I just dropped that. And I don't want it to fit. Don't want it to be squished. I'll set it to 0, 0, 1800. Good. Where'd everything go? Everything is behind this image. So just need to pull it down to the bottom. And now we have our text with our rectangle. Fantastic. Now what I want to do is I want to create this portion right here. Let's zoom in. Okay, so I know I want my vertical container to be in this location. So 85, 160 with the 200, height of 150. All right. So vertical container goes here, and my list is going to fall right in here. I'm going to put my horizontal container at the bottom. I'm going to put my start date and my end date in the container. Great. I'm going to select the horizontal bit. I'm going to select the vertical bit, and then I'm going to shade it the lightest gray that I can. All right, now that everything's in the vertical container, now I need to size it. So I think it was 85, back to Figma, 160, and it always does that. Okay, 160, 200, 150, 150, fantastic. All right, now that looks pretty scrunched. So let's make it 175. Looks better, but it still seems scrunched. Yeah, that feels a little better. Okay, now that it feels good, I'm going to add show hide button, and now I'm going to edit the show hide button. And when the items are shown, I want to make that up arrow appear so that people see something that looks like a thing they can click that makes this container disappear. So this is my up arrow, and when it's hidden, I'm going to use my down arrow, and you could be saying, where do these come from? Well, let me show you. first going to put this in its place. So it's 20 pixels to the left and 20 pixels up, and it's 20 pixels wide and 20 pixels high. Great. Now let me show you where I get the down and up arrows. So Figma, I think it's designs, no, Figma resources. Might be style guides for UI kit. Yeah, so wireframe kit, Figma design system, could be this, component library, and then I just download the component library, and in Figma, if I go to dashboards, go to Figma design system, this is probably what I downloaded. I just have these little components. Yeah, I really liked these arrows that I got from the Figma design system. So I just go in here and I kick those out. Figma design system. So if you download this, then you import it into Figma, and you can use any assets they have. Of course, you can make these yourself. That would be easy enough. But saw them, grabbed them, use them in my design. Back to the dashboard. So now that we have this, and see, we can alt-click to hide, show. Great, it's working like we expect. The last thing we want is our text box, and the text box needs to be put right here. So let me create that text box, and I'm just going to insert the date parameter. Okay. And let's see, it was 85, 140, 180, 20, yeah, great. And now we've got a date parameter. The last thing that we need to do is create a dashboard action. Not quite the last thing we need to do, almost. When these date buttons, so when this sheet is selected, we are going to target the date parameter. We're going to update the date parameter that we created, and the field, the value that we want to pull is the label, the value from the label field. And we don't want any aggregations for this, and we click OK, click OK. So now when you select the date button, the label value selected will get pushed into here, and it's also going to get pushed into that calculation that we created that's on the filter shelf of our chart, etc., etc. Right? All right, option, hide that. So now let's look at the bit that was mentioned. Luke does a nice summary of it. This is where we deselect things automatically. All right, going down to, yeah, this thing right here. So in this tessellation block, automatically deselect marks. This was really handy. The simplest way to do what we've got here. Let's just take these filters off for now. Let's filter true. Let's take this off. And this highlight true. Let's take this off. Show you what happens. See? That's not pretty. Now it's confusing. It's like, why is everything inactive? We have our little bullet here to indicate what's active and what's not active. So how do we create this? Well, we need to go to our date button sheet. This is where we want the things to be deselected so we don't have this funky inactive, active state going on. And it's the false and true things added to detail that we need to create. These calculations could not be any simpler. False equals false, true equals true, the end. I will click those, drag them to detail, done with this. Now I go to the dashboard, and still doesn't work because we haven't created the proper dashboard actions. So we need one highlight action, and I'm just going to say highlight true, And on selection of the thing, we're going to target the same sheet, and we're just going to highlight true. Fine. Click OK. And it kind of seems to be working already, but that's not the full walkthrough. I need to add a filter for this. Let's see, filter false, and we'll do that. Select marks. Now we want to target from true to false. No, same data source. False. Okay. 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 And now we have it. Option. Click that, and we are done. Custom. Change this. Great. Okay. And that is how I create this dashboard. This little drop-down custom thingamajig that looks super nice. And of course, you can make it look however you want. If we want to add some rounded corners to this, let's do that real quickly. Just go into Figma and bump this up to 5. Great. Now we've got rounded corners. I will export this, and we're going to need to adjust some things, I think. Replace right here. And because, look, I already updated. Because it's pointing to the same image, it just sort of updates automatically. Now we'll make this start at 90, and we'll make it 75. Cool. And we could probably move this over. And there. Does this look weird now? No, it doesn't look too weird. I might make this drop down skinnier now because the rounded corners kind of go in to there, but that's all I would do. And now you've got rounded corners. So yeah, if you don't like the aesthetic, just go into Figma and update it. Thanks again for subscribing. Hope this video was informative. Sorry I spoke so quickly and went through it so quickly, but the beauty of video is you can just pause, rewind if you like. And yeah, see it as many times until it sinks in. I just didn't want to create a video that was way too long. So I'm gonna do this from here on out. Create a blog post if you like it. If I get new subscribers, I'll create a video that walks you through how I made this thing, sort of accompanying the walkthrough tutorial in case you want to delve a little deeper. So that's all for now. Thanks again for watching.